This is a funny one because I basically have no moves. I think I can only really play king h7 here. My expectation is that the tricky bit is probably that I can't take twice. So I'm wondering what's going to happen if I do. I guess they'll play, like, for example, takes, king f6, king h6, king takes f5. I don't have any useful moves there. And he's going to play next king f4, king takes f3, e4. And meanwhile, white still has to deal with this g-pawn. So, definitely can't take twice. In fact, it might not be desirable to take at all. If I play something like king h6, they can play king f6, and that's kind of annoying, potentially. Because then I have to, again, do something. So I think at the very least, I have to figure out what's the difference between king h6 and taking once on f5 first. I don't really like the idea of not taking twice, actually. Because if I just take one time, maybe e takes. Alright, let's actually say g takes. If I do, like, king h6 now, they can play g4. And then after pawn takes back. King f6. Maybe that's not so bad. This doesn't look quite right. Could it be that it's actually not good for them to play king f4? Like maybe take. Well, actually there are two ways to reach that position, so maybe I should see what's the difference between these first. If I take like this, they could play g4. If I take like this, they could play e4. But I really failed to appreciate what's good about those things. So let's say I take this way. Yeah, I don't really care if they play e4 or g4, so probably whichever way I take, they have to take back. And then it ends up being the same either way. So then we really wouldn't have a puzzle, because it's supposed to have a unique solution. So this means either I play king h6 because that's the only move that makes sense, or the only move that's unique, or I'm playing f4 or h4. Either on this move or the next move. Now if I play f4, they're playing g takes. And after like h4, f3, h5 takes, f2, black wins. MK has a funny semi-related question on YouTube. Do you press the right mouse key with the middle finger or the ring finger? Let me see. Neither. Looks like I'm using my small finger. But it also depends. Like sometimes I like flip it around and stuff. Because I also use the mouse with both hands, so sometimes I use the pointer finger. Depends. Why? Is there like a personality test for that? Thinking too much about my hand right now. Yeah, it depends. Sometimes I even hold it like this, where I'm like, I could do this with my thumb or this with my pointer. Special? You mean like? Never mind. I'm not gonna get into that. But yeah, maybe. No one ever taught me to use a mouse or something. So I'm wondering like what I can possibly do to make the solution unique for this, because right now I'm not figuring out the difference between king h6 first and then taking on f5, or taking on f5 with the e pawn or the g pawn. I just don't really get it. That being said, it could be like none of the above. It could be like h4 looks awful because they're promoting with check and everything. So I don't think it's that. I don't think it's f4 because they could take with the g pawn and then h4 is really nothing. Like they're just winning. I don't think it's king h8 because okay, why don't I think it's king h8? Because king h8 looks ridiculous, but yeah, I don't see how I would win after, for example, f4. Maybe they play f4, I play king h7 because I have no other moves that make any sense. Actually, hold on, f4 is not good. King h8, f4, king h7, king f6, king h6. If they play king f7, I take it, and they have no other move to play. So king h8 could actually be a thing, like by elimination. I might have to play that move. But there's also king h8, king f8. King f8 is my problem for shouldering the king. But at that point, maybe now I can take on f5. King h8, king f8, takes, king f7, king h7, king f6, king h6, king f5, king g7. King f4, king g6, king takes f3, king takes g5, e4, h4, e3, h5, e2, h6, e1, h7. That doesn't look good. Yeah, could also take first and then play king f8, so that's a valid point as well. But I think if they take first, they probably are drawing it up. But that's still a good indicator that this isn't the answer. Unless we're playing for like only way to not lose, in which case like maybe that equal line is good enough. So we got options, but none of them are clearly standing out yet. King h6, king f6 is tempting just because it's like, you know, it's unique. But even then, actually, I guess after king h6, they could take on g4 or e4 as well, right? Like king h6, pawn takes e4, pawn takes e4, king f6. And then things are very boring. They play king h7, they play king f7. I think that's not going anywhere. So it has to be forcing. I can't play a king move at all. I think we've eliminated king h8 and king h6 because black can make things very boring at the very least. In both lines. So it almost has to be pawn takes f5. And so the crux of the issue is, what's the difference between e takes and g takes? Intuitively, I feel like I should take with the g pawn. Because I don't want to allow something where they play like e4, I take it, they play king e5, and then they take my pawn, or something like that. I just don't really want something like that. But I don't know if that's important. So maybe g takes, and I imagine they'll play g takes. And we can either take that, or do one of those none of the above type things. If we play king h6, this gives them the extra option to take on e4, so I'm inclined to think that's not right. Because if I play king h6, they could either play king f6 now, or pawn takes e4, and that's not very forcing. So probably e takes, king f6. I wasn't impressed with this when I looked at it before. Because what I was thinking with that is, after king f6, if I play king h6, they can just play king takes f5 and then go on to win the f pawn. And that looks easy winning, or at least equal. You know, I think it's winning though. So maybe it's not king h6 somehow. But if it's not king h6, I don't see what it is. So I think e takes f5 is still not good. I just calculated it twice to make sure because we eliminated these king moves. So maybe e takes is right after all. Maybe there's some difference here. E takes, g takes. Well, now they're actually threatening e4. So if I play like king h6, they could play e4, I think. Yeah, that wins. So g takes it is. I think we've eliminated everything else. Like, what else could really happen here? I think that's it. We have to play this move. Okay, and the puzzle goes on. Maybe here we're going to use the h5 square. Like king h6, king f6, king h5, and this way survive. Actually, this looks pretty convincing. I think this is it. We have to take back. And now they're running out of ways to guard their pawn. Alright, that was nice. Yeah, it looks like MK, you just got the same line that I did. If I read that right. G takes, G takes. I think you said G takes E. I don't know how that works, but yeah, I think we're on the same track here. Yeah, same deal. Okay, this is not part of my endgame theme, so let me just quickly pivot to the puzzle dashboard. Puzzle themes, endgame. Alright, we're going to keep doing some endgames. Because why not? Gaius, welcome. Yeah, I'm trying to stream a little bit earlier for you guys. I realized that what's convenient for me impacts a very narrow band of the people who are interested in watching. So, while I'm flexible, I'm going to do this a little bit. I'm also going out tonight. I have a hot date, so it's good for me in that way too. Excuse me. So, where are we? Black to play. And 1 second. We could go for a king and pawn on game right away. Take this bad boy. And maybe play h5 at that point to try to pass this pawn. Yeah, that's pretty simple, so let's check that first. Like, takes, h5. They have to do something. If they go here, I'm playing g5, takes, go here. Win the game. So do they even have a move after h5? King e5, g5 takes. King g6 looks crushing. So what if they try to race? You know, we take, h5, go over here, take this pawn. I think it's still the same idea, just play g5. Alright, I feel pretty convinced. And then throw this one. Oh man. That's obnoxious, because probably just means it's easy to go this way. So, okay, so that was sloppy on my part. I can easily see that there's nothing wrong with playing king f7 first, but I calculated this to a win. So what's the problem with it? It says king f4 equal. Okay, very sloppy. I missed that out. They're going to get in front of the b pawn. Not good. That was disappointing. But I feel like I could have gotten it if I just didn't go so fast. That's not the end of the world. 1 second. Okay. So here's another king and pawn endgame. I could take and play king c5. That seems sensible. Like, I want to go take this b pawn and promote the a pawn. If I take and play king c5, I think their only option is king e6. Because we're better on the king side now. If they do some weighty nonsense, trying to protect their weaknesses, it's just not going to fly. I'll take this and put them in Zugzwang. So, they probably have to go here. And now my qualm would be that if I straight away play king b6, this pawn becomes a queen. So we're not doing that. Probably it's f5. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. And if they play king e5, we play f6, and it's the same. And if they take, and play king e5 or king f5, we take the d5 pawn. And now they have a situation on their hands because they're not better anywhere on the board. They would have to try to go after this h pawn with like king g5. But that gives us time to play, I guess, king back to c5, just to prevent any shenanigans with b5. Even that probably doesn't matter. Alright, I feel fairly convinced about this. Is this another one of those situations? Let me see. Where we just put them in Zugzwang. Like maybe go here. And then here. Oh, okay. It looks like I missed something completely. I did say we were better on the king side, so maybe that's part of it. But why should this be the only answer? So this part's easy. h4 is one of those patient moves that I didn't think I needed. I thought this was just winning on the spot. Let's check the evaluation. It says equal. King e7. Okay, I suck. This looks pretty obviously equal once it's there. Should probably play more slowly here because these moves are like normal moves to play. No reason I should ever miss that. This doesn't look like an endgame at all. Like, am I in the right problem set right now? Looking like takes, and e5. I don't think it's that, but could be. At least in the meanwhile, we do not have difficulties with our king safety for now. Probably this slow move e5 is going to lead to problems. Yeah, that looks problematic. So I don't think it's rook h5 anymore. Could be promotion boy stuff. With this d6 pawn's going down. Could be. Could maybe start with e5 because there's no harm in it. I don't see anything wrong with playing e5 because they don't have queen b2 as long as the rook is there. And this bishop's guarding b1. So probably e5. And they have no... Oh, actually they have bishop b2 check. And I'm not sure I care. Excuse me. Like, king d1, no more checks. Maybe after e5 they'll do something like, I don't know, queen b7, something like that. But then I could probably trade and play e6. And I don't think that's too bad. What is this? Witchcraft? Bishop d2? I could probably just take it. I don't think I really want to allow any checks, though. Playing a piece up seems perfectly good. If light chess tells me I'm wrong for trying to play a piece up, I will be very disappointed. Severely disappointed. Rook takes. Looks good. Literally nothing wrong. King d1 also looks good. So, like, what gives with this one? c4 is somehow equal. What is this? I don't even see what the threat is aside from getting their piece back. Like, what if I threaten mate? Oh, there's this. That's a sneaky thing to do. But how can this be so bad, even? Alright, so queen g1 is a significant resource. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Should have seen that. That's almost like a puzzle in itself, though. Harold Steak Sauce, welcome on YouTube. A strategy book for beginners. I have a good recommendation for you. It's called Simple Chess. I'll put it in the chat. I've been thinking about doing a book review for this book, actually. And Simple Chess is... It covers a couple really basic motifs with examples that are short and relatively clear, but not so simple that they defy application. It's an old book, so it's not like engine tested. You might find some issues with it, but it's pretty well written. I like that book. It's short. I think it's less than 100 pages. Probably you could get it for like $5. Definitely a good choice. I might show some examples for that in the future, actually, from that book. Like, they have a chapter on outpost squares that's pretty nice. definitely encourage you to check that out. Yeah, and thank you very much for tuning in. So, black had some Hail Mary thing here. Usually when a puzzle looks really easy, I kind of like look out for this stuff, but I didn't feel like it was too easy to figure out if I should play rook h5 or e5 or queen c7 in the first place, so wasn't too alert to the danger of c4. Okay, what is this one? We have 4 rooks. I could take the d-pawn, but like probably it's not that. I could just protect my pawn on a7, but I find that somehow unlikely as well. But at the same time, if I don't do something like protect my a-pawn, I don't know what I'm playing for. Like, if I play rook d5, rook a7, rook b5 check, king a8, rook takes a7, king takes a7. They have 3 against 3 on the king side, and none of my pawns are passed. I don't think I could beat, like, Stockfish in that position. And that's basically what we're doing here on Light Chess. We're trying to beat Stockfish in these positions. So rook takes d5, rook takes a7, rook b5 check, king a8. I don't think I'm missing anything here. Maybe rook takes d5, rook takes a7, rook b1 check. With the idea of, I don't know, being really good at chess. Yeah, rook b8 is an idea. I thought, for example, rook takes d5. No. I mean, I just imagined a position with a rook on b8, right? They play rook takes. I could maybe check with the other rook, but then they always have at least king takes a7, right? So, still not sure. Rook a6 looks kind of like what has to be done, but it doesn't feel like a solution. For example, I might play rook 1 to a6 to try to increase my chances, so that if they play rook takes a7, I can play rook b6 check, but even then, both rooks are guarding each other. If I do like rook d8, they can just take it, and if I promote, they go and take that too. That's not too good. Another thing that comes to mind is just throwing this check in the first place. Rook b1 check. If they play something like king c8, now I might have something going, perhaps, with rook b8. Because after rook b1, king c8, rook b8 check, rook takes b8, I have rook d8. And after king takes d8, pawn takes b8, queen check. And that's winning. So after rook b1, they can only play king takes a7, and that's a pretty good sign. But then after rook takes d5 or something, I'm threatening mate, and that's nice, but they should be able to guard that. For instance, with rook c6. Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out what's going on with rook d5. Rook d5, king takes like either king a6 or rook c6. And if I play rook a5 check, rook a6, even if I take the rook, like rook takes, king takes, rook a1 check, they have king b7 guarding their own rook. Rook d7, I'm also not convinced. Why don't they just play Like, once they have that pawn, why don't they just play, like, king b8 or something? I guess you could play rook takes f7. I was trying to find something where I'm not just playing this rook and pawn endgame, but that does look pretty good for now. Rook b1, king a7, rook d5, and then they have to figure out what to do. This is what I would play like in a blitz game. Like, even as soon as I see that king c8 doesn't work, I would probably just go for it, because that's way trickier than like playing rook d5 on move 1 and letting them take their a pawn as they like. I don't see anything else that makes sense here, so I'm gonna just go for it. Why would they play this? Absurd. I thought they would go here. Is there a mate? No, there's no checkmate, but rook d5, it just says it's winning. It gives moves like king a6 and rook b7 and rook c6, like what we just said. Okay. Oh, king b8 is not possible. So this is winning a rook. This one made more sense, although I didn't mention it. But even here, it looks like they're just so badly coordinated, they're losing a rook, no matter what. Okay, so maybe underestimated, but at least by elimination, found the answer. Okay, so they want some pawns. Their king is not very active. Rook g2 seems normal. If we play something slow like c6, they're getting the h-pawn, but then we still get to take on g2. Actually, c6 allows knight d6. I don't see any reason to permit such a thing. After all, this knight is also a hanging piece. That could be useful. Why don't I rate the puzzles? What do you mean? They are rated. That's why the little checkbox says rated. Oh, that's a good question. I don't think my opinion really means anything unless the puzzle's just like absolutely wrong, and I don't think I found any that are absolutely wrong. I mean, I like solving the puzzles, so maybe they all get a thumbs up in that sense. But I think a thumbs down means a lot more than a thumbs up, and I think that if someone is giving a thumbs down, it should not be kind of like diluted with all the other thumbs ups. Because if they have a good reason for it, people who maintain the database should be able to figure that out pretty easily. So I'm much more likely to give something a thumbs down than a thumbs up. I'm like that for everything. I'm probably a pain in the ass on Airbnb and so on for my candid and genuine rating system. Okay, so kind of want to just take this pawn. I don't think rook e8 is a big deal. Like, I take here, rook e8, king d7. If they play rook d8, I think after king e7, they're at least like forced to go take on d5 and then d4 while I'm taking on f7. And that rook and pawn endgame looks great. Like I'm playing f3, f2, f1. I don't think it's too complicated. Actually, I could also throw this check in and just take the knight for free. So I don't think rook d8 is a challenge. And therefore, I don't think rook e8 is a challenge. So if I take this, what are they really playing here? They could just take this pawn. And then there's a real possibility of rook d8 checkmate. For instance, I shouldn't play rook c2. That'd be really bad. But I can guard the mate. Like, you know, just put this here or here. I don't really care. Thank you for following on Twitch, Umar Wahid. I don't usually join any groups, but thank you for the invite. If I have a good reason to, I might. Otherwise, I try to keep it pretty minimal on social media, like Lichess. Yeah, I'm not sure that I'm like clearly winning after, for example, knight c6, rook takes h5, f3. Yeah, after f3, they could play like rook f5, or maybe they could try to stop it with knight e5 or knight g5. So I don't think this is clearly winning. Yeah, maybe something more direct is called for here. Like, knight c2 is stupid. Other knight moves don't make a lot of sense, so... f3, pawn takes, rook probably goes to g1, otherwise I should just take on g2 in the first place. And then they actually can't play king d2. Because of knight f3. So if I play f3, they probably have to play rook d5. But our rook's still on g8, so they don't have a mate threat. So we can just take on g2 and win. Yeah, that looks right. And it looks like Gaius and MK have it already. I'm pretty sure that this is right. Bam. And we win. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, cool. That was not too hard. Just had to wade through a few good options. Knight h3, king h1, and then queen f3. That looks like it wins a piece by force. Queen f3, queen g2, knight f2 check, king g1, queen takes g2, king takes g2, knight takes d1. And their pawns are not impressive, so I feel good about that. But queen e4 looks very similar. Hold on, is queen e4 the same? Queen e4, queen g2, knight f2, king g1, queen takes. Yeah, that's super similar. So what's the difference? Oh, actually, I could take on d1. Queen f3, queen g2, queen d1. That wins with mate. So this is it. Seriously? What the hell? They only have like one move, and it loses. Oh, it's check. That's so annoying. Queen g2 is check. Obnoxious. So knight f2. If king g1, then queen d1. If king g2, then still queen d1. No? Doesn't like it. Queen e4? No. This all makes no sense. Oh, I have to just do this one. That was super easy. There's no reason to get that wrong. Sad. Okay, but that's fine. This looks like a Zugzwang-y kind of thing, where I just want to, you know, make them give up their pawns because they don't have anything else to do. They can only move so many pawns for so long. I should probably not allow a6, because after pawn a6, c6... it just looks a little annoying. I guess I could play bishop c7. Some things are going on here. Yeah, it was too easy. Too easy to get wrong. And yet I managed. Somehow. I could just like come around and take all the pawns and then quickly make a queen. Maybe I don't even care if they start running with their pawns. The king f5, king d6. Don't care. King g4, king d7. Bishop takes a5, king c8. Still don't care. King takes g3. King takes b7. King takes h4. c6. King g5. Easy winning. I mean, king g4. So that's clearly winning. I'll take that pawn, and then I'll promote on the h file before they can ever promote this a pawn. So maybe king f5, they'll play something else. King d6, king g4, king d7, bishop a5, king c8, king g3, f5. King takes h4, f6, bishop d8, f7, bishop e7, c6, h4, c7. That's not good. Okay, so probably I can't just go and quickly take all the pawns. So maybe more like calm, cool, collected approach makes sense here. Like bishop takes a5. Excuse me. King d6, b5. Just get rid of all the pawns. And I'm going to go just take these with the bishop. I don't really see them drawing after a passive move like king e4. But a move like c6 also doesn't work. Like c6, pawn takes, king f5. King b5, bishop e1. a4, bishop g3, a5, bishop f4. They're just so far away from actually doing something useful. I think I should just take this pawn. Alright, could it possibly be wrong about just taking everything? Easy way to lose the game, I could play b6. b5, king c5 looks like counterplay. I don't think I should consider anything except taking this. Bishop e1, g4 takes, h5. That doesn't look really interesting. I'm just making a queen. So bishop e1, a4, bishop g3, a5, bishop f4. Actually, I could even play bishop h4, a6, bishop f2, and just win that way. So, come on. I'm also only losing a couple points on each puzzle, so it seems like I'm getting hit with a lot of stronger ones. King f5 was the first move that I thought of, so, like, obviously this is winning, but why is bishop e1 not winning? I thought this was kind of economical. Just king d5 is equal. How does this make any sense? Seriously? Oh, it's because it's the wrong color corner. Yet again, something pretty basic. Can they make it back to the corner? Like, if they go here... now I think I should play bishop e1. I think that's true. No, here it says bishop b6 is the only move that wins the game. Like, don't allow king d4 at all. Nothing. No. So they go here, and now bishop f2. This is a really tricky puzzle. Yeah, wrong corner. But even this like winning sequence to avoid them going to the corner is kind of hard to find. Okay. Anyway, moving on. Rook takes. They could take on c2, and I can play rook c1 and. Actually. Yeah, what is happening here? Rook takes, I guess bishop c3 check. King a4 only move. And d2? Like, or bishop b4? No, bishop b4 looks silly. Well, no other move seems to make sense. Like, pawn takes d3 runs into bishop c3. King b5, bishop e1, pawn e4, and it's just not working. So I think I have to take this. But there's no partial credit in chess. Take care, Gaius. Thanks for dropping in. I'm sure I will. I don't think there's any mate here. Like pawn takes, bishop c3, king a4, b5, king a3. It's not a big deal. Or pawn takes, bishop c3, king a4, bishop b4, threatening b5. Okay, maybe that is actually a problem. So I should play c4. Like, don't allow them to take anything. This is what I'm looking at. And then bishop b4, trapping the king. It does look genuinely trapped. So probably I can't do that. But I would really like to provoke them to play pawn takes c2 so that I can play rook c1 and take it, so that they don't have a pass pawn. So king a4 also makes sense, maybe. Still threatening to take this. But it could also be king a4, b5, king a3, c4, and then counterplay. Takes, 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 takes. Or maybe they'll do this to have two connected pass pawns. But then after king b4, I should be stopping it all. I think. Yeah, that should win. But king a4 does seem to be like some kind of only move. I guess c4 is the other move that makes sense. c4, bishop, c3, king a4, and then there's no b5 ever. It doesn't matter if they play bishop b4. But then they can play d2, and I can never move my king, and I can never move my rook. So it's some kind of zugzwang. I don't think I'm breaking through here with these pawns. So I didn't even lose rating for this one. It must be like so high rated. Can Can I really take this? Seriously? Oh, I have to play b4. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I was thinking b4, but not in that position. I was thinking b4 like here. This is probably also not terrible. Let me see. No, black's winning after c4. So it's kind of different. I have to wait for this. Because for now I'm stopping c4. Well, that was tricky. I wonder what kind of rating it had. Oh, this is a 2700 puzzle. Okay. That makes some sense. Yeah, that I would not even lose rating. But it's so, like, kind of simple. Because seeing that I need to not get checkmated here, it's like a puzzle in itself. If I play king a4, then bishop b4, and then I lose. So I saw that, which was also kind of a puzzle. But it wasn't that hard to solve it. I guess I just didn't try hard enough to play the move I really wanted to play, which is pawn d3. Well, that's a rook. In my face. Rook e1 looks kind of normal to do. But after king h2, maybe there's not anything happening. If I play like queen b8 stuff to try to get f3 in, they could just play bishop d6. So, not really happening. Sorry, guys. I don't know how long I'm going to have this stupid cough. I've read that it can last like 6 months or longer. It's just awful. Rook d4. I didn't even think about rook d4 yet. They could probably just take the queen, right? Rook b7, rook d3, and then we're just still playing chess. They could also just take it with the rook and be up a piece, right? Rook takes, bishop takes, queen takes, winning. Yeah, I don't think there's anything there. Rook e1, king h2, something. It could just be like queen c6 or queen a8, and we have to choose between the two. For instance, queen c6, they might be able to play rook d6, and maybe that's a useful move. And if I play queen e8, maybe they can play rook d8, and that's a useful move. That could be some of the difference here. If I play queen c4, rook d6, I could play at least queen c4, but that doesn't look like I'm playing for any advantage. Bishop d4, I don't think it's really anything either, right? Bishop d4 is even, well, it's not illegal, but it's pretty out there. I could just take it with a rook. I'm not sure why you're thinking to do it, actually. Queen b6, almost GM, welcome on Twitch. Queen b6 could be a thing. I didn't really think about it. Not yet. Queen b6, queen takes e4, and then I don't see anything. Like, they're threatening queen takes f4 right now. I guess you could play, like, queen f2. But I don't see why that should work. I could probably play rook d1. Yeah, rook's hanging, that's all. So I'm kind of focusing on these. Or I could even play queen c8, actually. I just thought of that. Reason being that if queen e4, I could play queen d7. But these all look kind of equal to me. Not equivalent, but like equal positions. So rook e1 is the only thing that looks really distinct from the others. Like rook e1, king h2, queen b6, something like that, where they don't have any way to prevent queen g1. That seems more like an answer to me. But they do have rook d4. I'm paying the price for my ambition right now by coughing a lot. Rook e, I think it has to be queen b6. Yeah. Okay. Relatively easy one there for this problem set anyway, considering I just failed one where it didn't even take rating away. It was like, oh, that's okay, no problem. We didn't expect you to get it right anyway. Okay, playing white here. Pawns go that way. None of their pawns are doing anything really fascinating. They probably want to put their king here. But then we can always just plop that bishop down right here. I feel no need to really prevent king e7 or king f7. So the real question is, how do I advance these pawns without them becoming blockaded? Because if they can blockade the pawns, then, and only then, they will be able to get a draw. They could probably sack their d pawn for it even. I could control this square in various ways too, but I don't see any reason to not want the bishop on b4. I don't think it's worth entertaining any tricks like king c6 to try to get over here, depending on this check, and then taking the queen, because if I play king c6, they can make a knight. That could be a nightmare. We don't like that. So, not sure what's going to happen there. Triangle Cool Guy's following again. I thought you just followed me. Good to see you. Maybe it was on YouTube the other time. So the most obvious move is something like this, but then I feel kind of suspicious, because maybe they could play this to block both pawns. I could take this pawn for free, but am I winning? f6, bishop g6, king takes e2, and then they'll probably try to run back and corral the pawn. Like, throw this one in. And if I try to like check them to prevent that, they'll just go around. Like, they could do this too. So they'll probably play something like that. Then I have to find some way to win this game. Like king c6. King d4 is at least illegal. They could go here. Maybe probably bishop e7 is necessary to protect the pawn when they finally get their king to e6. I feel kind of like I'm just playing a position here, but at least I do have a winning idea that if I can make them protect this g pawn with the bishop, I could play g5 and then g6 and then f7 and win the game, because they can't control this square. So they probably want to set up a fortress where their king protects g4 and their bishop stops these two pawns. But I don't think the bishop can stop the two pawns on its own. So I feel sort of inclined to play f6. Maybe just a quick scan for alternatives. And if you guys see any alternatives to playing f6, feel free to let me know. Maybe I'm missing that I need to play this first or something. Like bishop g5, king e5, and then something. Mainly something. You know, like f6, bishop b3, I'm sorry, bishop g6, king d7. It looks pretty similar. Yeah, it looks pretty drawish. It was wrong. Alright, so check first and then play f6? No? Okay. Give up this pawn instead? No? Alright, I'm still kind of not following here. Alright, what just happened? Because I feel like I just forced them to go where they want their king to be. I think maybe they go here. Maybe this is the way. Maybe instead of trying to take this pawn and then attack these pawns with my king, I should be playing king c5. With the idea of pushing on the lights on the dark squares. Bishop's covering this one. So we might see something like this. And then they can't really stay in front. Maybe this formation is actually a takeaway for this puzzle, that this is a desirable way to advance the pawns together. Include the king in this formation too. This looks not so bad. The issue with f6 is probably that when they go here, that they have some kind of fortress. That's my guess. Yeah, it says this is equal. So they have a fortress where they can put their king right here, and then just like protect this whenever it gets under attack. And the king is doing a good job stopping everything. Like they could hang out around d3. And yeah, this makes sense when I play it out. I don't know why there's like a disconnect between my good sense and my anticipation of what's going to happen. No, f6 is not good. I think f6 is a complete draw. I just didn't really navigate that properly. This makes more sense to me, the main solution that they gave. So after king c6, we're threatening king c5. So they have to play this. We check them away, they have no way because this pawn's covering that one. We get king c5. And the puzzle basically ends here. This is maybe where it seems unclear. Probably the top engine move is g5. Actually, it suggests 3 king moves over... Oh, but it's black's turn, that's why. So like they go here and then we play g5. Yeah. And the pawns are getting a lot further this way than if we go ahead and take this pawn. They can't make a fortress. So I agree with their answer for this one. I just didn't find it. This doesn't look too much like an endgame. Maybe take this, let them take this. Take here, and promoting to a queen. They could try very hard to checkmate me, maybe. Like, take, queen f3. But I could always guard g7 with queen f8 in that case. So maybe they would try this. Then c3. Yeah, I just don't believe in their position. Okay. Yeah, you hear that? I don't believe in you, chess computer. You're not real. You're like Santa Claus. Oh, hope that didn't spoil it for anyone. Okay. So what do we have here? It would be cool if I could make them move their king a lot. Like this, and then they just play king e4 because they really, really want me to win the game. So king c4 is more realistic. I can't even try to entice them into losing the queen with like queen a2, because after queen b3, rook d4, they can safely take it. The bishop guards b3. So that doesn't make sense. They can't play rook d4 because they have at least king d4. They also have queen d4 check. I don't have rook c1 because of bishop c1. I guess I'm just going to take and then double attack these pieces, but bishop e3 is check. King g2 maybe. Actually no, king h2. I don't know, this doesn't look like the like hallmark finish or Kodak moment where I am winning a piece and winning the game. To play takes and rook takes f5. Seems a little obvious. Level Up Chess on YouTube, welcome. Bishop e3. Yeah, I think you're just talking about the variation we were talking about, right? MK's on to rook d1 and queen e2. Rook d1. Sorry. Rook d1, king c4, queen e2. Can they not play queen back to d3? Oh, no, the rook's on d1, sorry. So they have to play something like king b3, I guess. And then we have rook d3. So maybe they should play... Yeah, actually that looks right. I think it's rook d1 and queen e2. Good find. They can give checks, but it means nothing. Nothing! I don't care. There it is. Solid find by MK. So this one's h2. They want to make a queen or a donkey or something. Whatever their little heart desires, they're going to get it there, because I think we can't do anything except take it if we don't want to see that happening. We could start bullying, you know, we could take this. Why you bully? We could also maybe just let them have it, like f6, you promote to a donkey or whatever, rook g7, king f8, and then queen b4 wins the game. I think. Yeah, it wins the game. King e8, queen e7. So we check, they have to play king e8 actually. Then we play f7. I don't know, that might be risky for the biscuit. They could at least play queen takes f7. They have an extra queen. Yeah, I free up the e-pawn a little bit. Triangle Cool Guy on Twitch. I would take on e6, they play king e6, and then I'm not sure what really I can do now to like get that pawn rolling. So probably it's not captures, I think it's probably f6. I'm just looking for like the refutation for f6, because even after king e8 I still feel pretty good about my position. Like I could play rook e7, and now if they play king f8, then we have queen b4, and if they play king d8 we have queen a5. Those all look like Actually, if we don't keep checking, they have queen b1, and that looks like the end of the world. So maybe we should be careful. Queen b4 on the first move could also be a thing with like the same idea. No, I welcome the suggestions. Triangle cool guy. Definitely, it's fine. Chess Clarity on YouTube, welcome. Queen b4, they make a queen, we play queen b7, we win. So probably after queen b4, they should play like some prophylactic move, something that doesn't allow queen b7. Maybe rook c7. But this feels like kind of the right direction. Rook c7, probably not how they want to play the game. For instance, f6, they promote to a queen, rook g7, and now we're cooking with rice or something. That looks pretty good. Queen b4, rook c7. Maybe there's something even more convincing, like pawn takes e6, because after king e6, queen d6 wins. That looks even better. So I feel fairly certain that it's this one. Of course, they're up to their old tricks. Now we have to answer this unnecessary question of what do we do against the least critical move. If I take it, they make a queen, we go back, and maybe that's not good because I really want to do something more fun with my free time. After king a1, they can get a queen, then we have queen b7, and that's winning. We also have king b3, but then there's bishop c2, so I think it's king a1. Boop. Yeah, now queen b7 should do it. What are they intending? What are your intentions with my queen? Queen b7, king somewhere on the 8th rank, maybe king f8. Queen c8, I suppose, for the good memes. They could play queen e8, and then we have rook takes, king takes, queen takes, and it's all with check. We should be able to win this game. Alright, cool. Solid gains for this 2600 puzzle. And yeah, I welcome all suggestions for the puzzles. Everything is a-okay. Let's see. So they just took something. Or else they're just very, very bad at chess. Just kidding. Could take with the knight, could take with the pawn. Could not take it at all. Could play like e6. And commence with further bullying activities. Yeah, Chess Clarity, I just got your variation from the last puzzle. Maybe there's some lag. Sorry about that. Yeah, e6 does look strong. I'm kind of looking for a downside for that move at the moment. I don't really see one. You know, like, they're putting their king one of these squares. If they play king h7, we could at least take on g5 with check, which is clearly better than just taking the knight with no ill intentions. So I guess the critical line is if they play king g8. I think we should still do this because we could always take this knight with a pawn if we want to. If they play king f8 at that point. Well, first of all, if they play king g7, I think they are getting roasted and toasted somehow. So I think king f8 is the only really interesting move. And then there's queen b4. problem moment, they can put a piece on d6. But maybe we should play e7 check. Just seems very promising to play e6. If e6, king g8, e takes f7 check. But then can't they play knight takes f7? Do they have something there? I think they'll play knight takes f7. I'm not so sure that really works. But if you have some further ideas to clarify, feel free to share. I think e6 is so promising that we should just play it, frankly. I don't think there's really too much to see here. Like, what could the downside be of e6? That our pawn is hanging? Like, really? I'm not sure I care that my pawn is hanging in a position like this. Maybe just a quick look for what could possibly go wrong here. If I play e6, king g8, knight f6 check, king f8, and then like pawn takes h4, I still have this awesome knight on f6. They could play queen takes e6, and I could at least get my pawn back with like queen b4, something like that. Triangle cool guy, yeah, we should probably look out for knight takes e4. But I think the knight will not survive. Like, we're definitely going to get it. Just clarity suggests that maybe the idea of knight takes f7 is important. That's definitely something that I want. Otherwise, I would just play knight takes g5. Because as it is, if I play knight takes g5, I think they'll play king g8. Knight takes g5, king g8, and then how am I really capturing on f7? I could play e6 in this position, but it looks kind of different to me. Because our knight is not as deep in their territory. Like, maybe after king g8, e6, they'll just play pawn takes e6. And the queen's guarding e6, so we can't play knight takes e6 ourselves. And with a king on g8, we're not getting queen h8 stuff, nothing like that. I don't know, I think I should probably just go ahead and play e6. Right. And then here, if I take, they'll play pawn takes. So I should probably play e7. e7 with the idea that after rook e8 I could play knight f6. They move their king anywhere, I don't care. Knight takes e8 is check, and then I can take on g5. I think this is the answer. And if I play e7, knight takes e4, which is what Triangle Cool Guy was saying to look out for, I could do this with check. So I'm probably doing really great. In fact, checkmate will happen. So this looks good. This looks also quite good. I think I'll take that now. Thank you. Okay, that was it. HG5 looks a little bit slow, so it wouldn't be my first move. It would probably be how I'd end a variation where like I improve all my other pieces, and then I just don't want to let that knight get away. I did look at some lines with HG5, but it looks like this is better. Okay, so king pawn shenanigans once again. That's going that way. We are in the square of this pawn. If you guys don't know the square rule, I think I made a video about this. Otherwise, it's probably pretty well known. Let me see. Just got a party invitation. Sick. So I probably get away with taking this pawn. Like I take, they go here. I step back because I really have to stop that pawn. If they play king e5, they could also do that before playing f3. You know, maybe we're talking about king e5 right away. I could play f6. I think f6 is more prudent than g6 because after takes, king f6. Sorry, I'm just not doing so great. Yeah, I think it's better not to play g6. We probably have to play f6. Like that. And then they're getting their king in here to take this. But then we're getting our king in here to take this, and I reckon we're much faster. Especially because when they play king g4, we can actually play g6 at that point. Only issue is that then they can play f3. So takes, king e5, f6, king f5. Does it blend? Maybe I'll play king d4. If they play f3, I play king e3 and I win, because if they play king g4, I play g6. So they can't play f3 still. So and they can't play king g4. That looks winning. So maybe I'll take f3, king d3, king e5, f6, king f4. No, then g6. I don't know, all this looks winning. I'm just going to take it. And then g6. Is this really the whole puzzle? Oh. Okay, I guess there was more to it. Yeah, I thought this is just winning. Like, takes, I make a queen, they go here, I go here. I have a queen first, I should win. So what's wrong with this? Go here. Is this something like they're promoting with check? Like, who cares? Like, I go here, f3. Oh, okay, I think it's one of those things where they're promoting with check, so we have to go here. So that they have to invest an extra move to stop me from getting in front, and then I can do this. And it's much more winninger. Maybe I'll take this for fun. And actually, hold on. This is really so good. Alright, I'm going to check the engine real quick with this one. Because, like, king c3 is clearly good. They should probably play king e3. g6 is the best move, obviously. But this looks a lot like my thing that I had before. The man who speaks in hands, welcome. Thank you for the follow. I do like chess variants, although I almost never play them. Why? What's your favorite thing? I met a guy the other day who said that he's like super into Bughouse and that he uses a platform that's not Lichess, not chess.com. I don't know what it is. Chess with 5D chess with multiverse time travel. I thought that was just a meme. Is that like a real thing? That sounds kind of good. Like some Star Trek nonsense. You probably have to play like several boards on several like spatial layers at the same time, right? Cool math games, chess. Not to be underestimated, for sure. Sorry, I was like scrolling and not thinking. Yeah. even if I like am not sure about the result of this position, it's definitely better not to allow them to promote with check. I think this is a takeaway here. I could probably deflect their queen. They only have one place to protect that rook. I could go like here. They have no checks. Oops. Getting my hands all mixed up. I was going to take that with check. That was my idea. And there's no back rank memes because of f5. So this looks good. Okay. Instructions unclear all of a sudden. I could take it and then take on a2, but opposite bishop's not very fun. I could also just take this rook and win the bishop. That seems a lot more normal and good. Not even an endgame, seriously. Okay, so we keep going. We always keep going. Until we don't go anymore. The end. Hey guys, welcome back. And who's your friend? Okay, I'm just getting oriented for this puzzle, so let me quickly figure out what's going on. King safety issues for both sides. I would like to do something like this, but the queen's covering g8, so I can't just, you know, do a replacement cycle like that. I could probably threaten mate in one in various ways, like here, here. That's not legal, this one. Those all look like they could be defended with rook g1. But then maybe I could get in rook h8, sack here. Something like that. Sacrifices are in order. I think this is the thing. Set up the altar. We need to sacrifice something. Could also start with rook h8. Idea being to play queen f3. It's like rook h8, queen, maybe like g6. Rook takes h3, pawn takes h3, queen f3. They could play queen g2. So maybe that's not working. But my idea is like they move their king, I move my rook somewhere better, but even that looks far-fetched. Queen f2 keeps an eye on this rook on e1 and threatens mate. That could be useful. But rook g1, again, solves some problems. I don't feel that impressed by queen g5 and queen g3, because when they play rook g1, we don't have any way to sack a rook. I think it's probably better to attack it from f2 if we're choosing one of those. If this wasn't a tactics puzzle, I might think like queen f2, rook g1, then f4, f3. Just, you know, throw this pawn at their king. I just got a bunch of your messages all at once. It's probably lag problems. Queen g2 with ideas. If they go rook e2, you go rook g7. Okay, so I think you're getting at this queen g3, rook g7 stuff, like just to build pressure quickly. That makes sense. Or queen g5, one of those. If I do queen g3, I can punish queen takes. I think I lost track of my own variation there. I'm not sure where I could punish queen takes something. Oh, queen takes f5? Yeah, probably not. Yeah, so let's say it's queen g5. They play like rook g1. We have rook g7. They have to move their queen. Probably they have to move it to like d7. Or actually, no, they can't because they just play rook g7. So the queen's trapped. Yeah, this could be about trapping the queen. That's pretty convincing, actually. I think that's it. They defended on e2. Does that change anything? Probably not. Rook g7. They could check stuff, maybe. Yeah, nothing. Alright. Solid find there. Queen was trapped on the edge of the board. Looks funny. Until it happens to you. Okay, so with this one, we probably just have to try to promote this a-pawn twice. I don't want to take this. I don't want to give him any counterplay. So it would be something like king b4, takes, king over here, push this pawn. They're probably not going to cooperate. King g5, h3. Now they have to play this. We go here. They get beads of sweat on their forehead because we're playing a2, but the fearless foe plays king g6, a2, bishop takes, king takes here. And now we're entering a king and pawn endgame race. Their king is here. Our king's right here. I like these wonky arrows. It's our move. So we could play a5, move your king, sir, a4, f4, I'm sorry, f5, a3, f6, a2, f7. We make a queen. They make a queen. Oh, our king is in the way. So we actually had to move our king somewhere in there. So we move. They get a queen. We get a queen. It's equal. That's annoying. But we are down a piece. So maybe it's not that bad. Maybe triangle cool guys onto something. Like maybe we do have to attack this bishop at some point. I think I just need to push this pawn though, because their plan is actually winning if we don't get this a-pawn counterplay going. Maybe the place where we should attack the bishop is instead of playing a2, because they're limited. They have only one square to protect a2. So we could play, instead of a2, we could play king b2. I think that's the key. Okay, maybe king b3, just to dominate that bishop. Don't allow it to get here. King b2 seems kind of right, but I don't see why I shouldn't play a4. Chop, chop. They go here. We go here. They take on f5. Okay, probably we have to do this while we have to strike while the iron is hot or something. King b2, rook d3, a4. Actually, they have bishop c4. Is this a draw puzzle? It's like very frustrating if so. Yeah, push the pawn definitely is logical. I think they're at least equivalent, so may as well go for it. The only thing I'm wondering is here, like, can I allow them to play bishop c4? Like, I go here, they take. I go here, they take here. Okay, we're actually just in time to play a2. Nice. Team effort. I don't know if I want to do this, but it does sort of like call my name. I don't know, this looks pretty right. But this could be another example, just like before, where I have the right idea, but I'm just doing it like way too fast. h6 could also be a way to do this. Like, I don't have to play g6 and give them this pawn right away. One of the things that came to my mind first is g6 pawn takes and then h6, but I like quickly skipped it because they could play king f6. But if we play h6 first and then they throw in some useful move, you know, because they don't have a ton of useful moves. Actually, they have king f5. That could be annoying. h6, king f5. Maybe we should actually play g6, pawn takes h6, king f6, and then king takes e4. and just let them suffer. But that might even be too complicated. Like, we take, they play, I don't know, g5, h7, king g7, king f5, king h7, king g5, king g7. That's a better king position for them, I think. We'll come over here, they'll come over here. Yeah, they stop us just in time from playing king c6. And then black's actually winning. So I think it should be g6, but we're just going to trade everything. Because now we have the lead. And I don't think we should add any moves over here, because this could allow them to trade all the pawns. So here we go. Okay, this is wrong somehow. So here I should add a move. Like what? Maybe a4? So that if I b5, I play a5. Or even king takes c5. Okay, so what was wrong with just playing king c6? I imagine it's king e6, but like, seriously, what's going on? King e6, king b6, king d6, king a6, king c6, and then I play a3. I don't think they're fine in that position. Because they have to move their king. Like, they don't have other moves that make sense, right? Engine says plus 60 million, so yes. So what's the response here? It says king e5 equal. King d4. And then c4. This is a sneaky one, actually. They're like just in time to get this theoretical draw. I didn't notice that. Melee, please, welcome. h6, I think, is losing in the first position. Like, if we... So this was our diagram, right? If we go here, I think this loses. Because... it has, like, the same issues as before, but with an extra pair of pawns. Yeah, this one's says -7 or something. So initially made the right decisions. I guess this is a sort of thing to have burned into your memory, that with this 3 against 2, they could actually draw by pushing c4 at the right time. So you have to try to make it so that doesn't happen. Another one of those moves that I could just throw in because it like improves the position and it has no downside, but I consistently forget to do that because I'm focused on like one idea. How many queens is plus 60 million? Probably it's approaching infinity so fast that they're like queens that can also move like knights, and at least 1,000 of them. Like minimum 1,000 of queen knights. They all have horse heads like it's the Godfather in the movie. Okay, so far the puzzles haven't been like so bad. I'm definitely disappointed in some of my results, but it's still good to do these things, especially since I don't solve puzzles very often. Not tactics puzzles, anyway. So we have a whole rook endgame here. Masquerading as a tactics puzzle. Probably has something to do with, like, winning the game. Their rook can't really get anywhere. I guess they want to bring it to h5. So... question is, do we want to force them to play this sequence? Tough question, really, because the king is nearly in the square. Like, they want to be in here. They are right there. They can do that when they want. And they have this outside pass pawn. So probably can't just do what we want, necessarily. So maybe it's good to go for rook g6 and rook h6 before they even get rook f5 or rook f8. Or f5, which would prevent this entirely. Well, I guess I could play rook g5 and so on. If I get my pawn to h2, I don't even care if they play rook g7. If my rook's behind and the pawn's on h2, they can't stop it. So what's going to happen after rook g6? If they play f5, I think rook g5. Maybe not, because then they can play f6. I have to take it, rook f6, king maybe c7, and then rook h6, just in time. So rook g6, f5, rook h6, rook g7, h3, rook g1, h2, sorry, rook h1, and then maybe king e7, but then they can start pushing these. Not too promising. Gaius, I think that in your variation with h3, rook f8, rook g6, they will play rook h8, and after rook h6, they'll play rook takes h6, pawn takes h6, and king e2. And I don't think they have really any weaknesses. Like there's doubled h pawns, and the king is close enough to stop them. They're going to play king f1, king g1, king h2. And we cannot approach their queenside pawns to try to win them. Like if we play king c7, they could just play a4 and leave it like that, and they can't lose the game. It just queens? Oh, the a pawn? Yeah, I thought you meant the h pawn. That would be nice. But king e2, h3, king f2, h2, king g2. Not in time. Not for us. For them, yeah. Maybe they can't queen, like if their king is stuck blocking our h pawns and our king is in front of these pawns forever. They probably, like, it's probably going to end in some stupid looking shuffle where they play king h1, king g1, and we play like king b6, king a6. So that's why I was looking at rook g6 in the first place, just like quickly get behind the pawn. But it looks like with f5 they might be really harassing. But maybe also there's h3, which, you know, it's you're just getting a queen, so it seems tempting to just consider that. If they play rook f5, we play rook g6, rook h5, rook h6, and then that wins because our pawn is farther along, right? So, h3 is a viable candidate to include at the beginning. When we play h2, they don't have time to play rook f5 or rook f8. So h3, they probably have to play rook f8. Rook g6. I think this steals just enough time. Like h3, rook f8, rook g6, rook h8, rook h6, rook takes h6, pawn takes h6, king e2, h2. I think this wins. And same problem where after rook h6, their king's too far away. Alright, cool, we got it. I think, how long have I been sitting here? Okay. I think I will probably wrap it up pretty soon, but let's do a little bit more. Maybe get to 2500 real quick. Well, this looks like we have a lot of A lot of things to look forward to. Like maybe we could stop this pawn. Maybe we could invade here. Maybe we could stop this pawn. Maybe we could deflect their king. Like just block that pawn, and if they go for it, we play e6 at the right time. Certainly a wealth of options for us. I don't feel like it's important to consider b3 first, because if they play c4, we can just go take it a lot of the time. So it's probably king d5 or g5. If I play g5, king e6 looks critical. So maybe I'll first analyze king d5. And what are they doing? b6, I bet. e6 check, king e7. King c6, king e6, king b6 wins the game. Like king d5, king a7, I guess. King c4, b6, king b3, b7, king takes b2, b8, queen. They're like so far away. So that seems right. Yeah, I just need a few more GPM norms. Yeah, so maybe after king d5, they're not going to play b6, because that variation seems way too simple. Yeah, they do have h5, don't they? So after g5 to stop that, because we really can't endure that. Even if we're in the square here, we're going to have to abandon our greatest asset in order to stop this pawn. So there's no reason that it should be a move besides g5. And so we enter this line, king e6. Probably b6 or b3. Since I already mentioned that I think c4 is a bad move, I probably would play b6 to try to prevent them from playing b6. So let's see what happens with b6. c4, probably the only move, because if they don't play that, I think it looks a lot like the other variation I just told, except they don't get to play h5. b6. c4, king d4. King f5, I guess, for that. King d5, king g5, e6 wins. So probably just b6. Let's go this way. And over here. And thank you for that. Okay, not so bad. More progress towards 2500. I was like 2700 in tactics at some point. I don't know what happened. I just like stopped doing them, and then I was doing the daily puzzle, and like sometimes I get it wrong first thing in the morning, and then it's bad. Okay, it looks like Gaius was on the right track. I'm just looking at the chat, probably much later than what you guys said. First things first, I could maybe like bring my king over here. And then we're in some kind of weird race with minor pieces on the board. Let's see. Takes, king d4 is like the first thing that comes to my mind, but that doesn't mean that it's critical. There's also ideas like with this. The thing is, if I don't take this rook, probably they're gonna play knight c4 or something like that. Like rook c1, knight c4 check, bishop takes, rook takes, and then I kind of have to take and play something. Actually, that doesn't look so bad. Can maybe force trade everything and then play f5. Alright, so Chess Clarity is asking, can we win with a passed pawn? Here we probably have to. I don't think we're going to win with like checkmate or something. I don't think piece play is really going on. For instance, if I just want to keep the rooks on, that's already not necessarily part of my mission statement. Rook c1, maybe they could even play like rook c3 check. Just be annoying and make it unclear. It just doesn't look very crispy to me if I don't play rook b4. Like rook c1, maybe they won't take on c4, but they'll do other annoying things. Like just play a5, rook c1 a5. That looks pretty reasonable because they don't really have weaknesses on light squares that much. I guess they could try to attack e6, like bishop g4, but then I think we have knight c4 check. And then the king can guard the pawn with king d5. And similar issue with bishop f3. So this is why I was kind of honing in on rook b4, king d4 as the first thing. They could try to stop it with knight c8 at some point, but first I want to see like where does that pass pawn actually show up? Are they even gonna have a knight at that point? Before I worry about like can they stop the pass pawn? I think it's just good to try to have one in the first place. It's often the case that if there's a knight here and your king is here, it's very hard for them to actually generate threats against you too. So it's a little bit like dominating this knight. It's also hard for the knight to protect this pawn. So I think this will end up being some kind of race type situation. Like we take, king d4, a5, and we have to go like take this e6 pawn, I bet. Like we go here. I guess then they could play knight c4. But then we could play bishop e6. Does kind of look like counterplay. Well, I don't think anything really makes sense except rook b4 here. I'm not too sold on anything else. And in this position, I don't see why we should give up the c pawn with check unless we're promoting immediately. So f5, first thing that comes to mind. An interesting variation might be like knight d7, pawn takes, knight e5, and then e7. The knight can't guard e8, so that's promising. We go here, they have to take it. Because if they play knight c4, we can just take, and then play f6 and we win. We're much faster than the a-pawn. So here I'm thinking e6. They could throw f4 for a check, but I don't think it does anything. So probably knight c8 is what they have to do. But once they play knight c8, that just might be good enough. So maybe when they take, we should first prevent that. I don't know. A bishop on e6 would dominate the knight almost GM, except in how they can go to a4 and a8. So I still think they have avenues to control the promotion square, like knight a8 to c7. Yeah, I don't know if this is a race or if I'm just breaking with f5. This has only been played 230 times, so it's a little bit of a rare puzzle. I'd rather just win the pawn on e6, like for reasons mentioned. But I don't think I should play bishop g4 straight away. Knight c4 check. So I think king d4 is still right. Okay, I was wrong. So it must be f5. No, not f5. So it was neither of the really critical moves. Bishop g4. Allow this with check. And then if they start running, I guess the knight needs to get back to c7 quickly. Well, actually there's just two passed pawns now. Okay, I guess this is actually pretty straightforward. Like, maybe even go the other way. Maybe just stop right here. Okay, so this was actually not that tricky. Okay. Just kind of keep moving here for a little while. I could take the rook, but then they have queen f6. With a draw. Or a win, actually. No, just a draw. Maybe you want to throw in knight d6 just to disrupt the queen. I think I'm probably at the point where I'm like just tired and not able to make good decisions, so I'll probably wrap up after this puzzle. The thing is, after knight d6, let's say they play like queen e7. I still can't take this rook, right? They'd take on f6, check, queen f8, check. Yeah, so I don't think I can actually even take that, but maybe I could just take and then keep moving, like knight d6, queen e7, knight f5, so that I can block on g7. That could be a thing. Nope, it was very wrong. If I take that, it's a draw. If I play a2, I could take the bishop. I thought about that. I guess it's kind of obvious. Yeah, I'm definitely in that like tired zone. Bunker sick. Yeah, I think you were right. I think after like, what, 2 hours or something of this? I don't know how long I've been doing this. Yeah, almost exactly 2 hours. I'm just too tired. Like missing the obvious things. So I'm going to wrap up here. Thanks for joining me, you guys. I will try to keep doing this like pretty regularly, at least up until I go for the Biel tournament in Switzerland in like a week. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do for content during that time. Maybe I could record some stuff if you guys are interested. We'll see. I'll see what I can manage technology-wise. Until next time, take care and good luck with your chess. See you later, everyone.